The night of our 7th wedding anniversary should have been unforgettable, and it was, but not for the reasons I hoped. David was in the shower, steam rolling out from under the bathroom door. He was humming, carefree, as if the world was perfect. And maybe for him, it was. But for me, that was the moment my world collapsed. His phone buzzed on the nightstand beside me. Normally, I wouldn't even notice. I wasn't the type to snoop. I believed trust was the backbone of a marriage. But that night, the sound felt different. Like fate itself was tapping me on the shoulder. I glanced over. The screen lit up. A preview of the message glared back at me. "See you tonight, can't wait." My blood ran cold. My chest tightened. For a moment, the room tilted, like gravity had shifted. Tonight? Tonight was our anniversary. He was supposed to be with me. Who the hell else was he seeing? I stared at the message, hands trembling, heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. And in that moment, I knew my marriage wasn't what I thought it was. That's where my story really begins. David wasn't always a stranger to me. He used to be the man I dreamed of, the one I thought I'd grow old with. I met him when I was 22, working long hours at a cafe. He walked in one Tuesday morning, ordered a black coffee, and flashed a smile that made my knees weak. He came back the next week, and the week after that. Soon, it wasn't just coffee he was ordering, it was conversation. We'd talk about books, travel, dreams. He asked about my family, and he actually listened. I remember thinking, this is the first man who sees me for me. When he finally asked me out, it wasn't some grand gesture, just a simple, "There's this little diner I like. Want to grab dinner with me?" And that's what I loved. It felt real, easy. Our first date stretched past midnight. Burgers, laughter, stories that spilled like we'd known each other for years. I went home that night and told my roommate, I think I just met my forever. 2 years later, he proposed at that same diner, rain pouring outside, his hands shaking as he slipped a ring onto my finger. He said, "May, you make me better. Will you marry me?" And I said yes without hesitation. Our wedding was a dream. Family crying happy tears, friends clapping, vows whispered with so much hope. People said we were perfect, and they said we were the couple to beat, and for a while I believed them. We bought a cozy little house. Friday nights were for cheap wine and movies. Sundays were for pancakes and bad dancing in the kitchen. David worked late, but he always came home with stories and kisses. He wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend. But marriage isn't just love and laughter, it's sacrifice, and I made plenty. David wanted to climb the corporate ladder. He had ambition, big dreams, so I supported him. I worked extra shifts. I skipped trips. I put my career on pause so he could chase his. It wasn't always easy, but I told myself that's what love is, compromise. And for years, I believed we were building something together, until the cracks started to show. It didn't happen overnight. That's the worst part. It was slow, creeping, like a shadow growing longer at sunset. The first red flag was his phone. David had always been careless with it, leaving it on the counter, tossing it on the bed, but suddenly, it became glued to him. He slept with it under his pillow. He carried it to the bathroom. When I teased him about it, he laughed. "Work stuff, babe. Confidential emails. You wouldn't be interested." I tried to laugh too, but something about it sat heavy in my gut. Then came the late nights. He'd say, "Don't wait up, deadlines." At first, I didn't question it. He'd always been hardworking. But one night, he came home past midnight, smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't mine. "Why do you smell like that?" I asked. He froze, then laughed it off. "My coworker hugged me goodbye. She wears way too much perfume." I wanted to believe him. God, I needed to believe him. But the excuses kept piling up. Phone calls on the balcony, spoken in hushed tones. Meetings that ran later and later. Smiles at his screen that vanished the second I walked into the room. One evening, as I folded laundry, I watched his face light up at his phone. His eyes softened. His lips curved into a grin I hadn't seen in weeks. "What's so funny?" I asked casually. He quickly locked the screen. "Just a meme from work." But his voice was too tight, his laugh too forced. That night, I lay awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, my heart racing. Something wasn't right. The next day, I met my best friend Claire for coffee. She's been in my life since childhood. The one person who knows me better than I know myself. As soon as I sat down, she asked, "May, what's wrong? You look exhausted." I hesitated, then spilled everything. The phone, the late nights, the perfume. Claire listened quietly, her brow furrowing deeper with every word. When I finished, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "May, you know I love David, but something's off. Don't ignore your gut. You've always been too trusting." Her words stung because they were true. I was trusting, maybe too much. I don't want to accuse him without proof, I whispered. What if I'm wrong? What if I ruin everything over nothing? Claire leaned in, her voice firm. Then get the proof, because if he's hiding something, you deserve to know. Her words haunted me. That night, when David rolled over in bed and tucked his phone under his pillow, I stared at the back of his head and thought, who are you really texting, David? Weeks passed, my doubts growing heavier by the day. And then came our anniversary. He booked a fancy dinner, pulled out all the stops, wine, roses, a toast to 7 years of love. He held my hand across the table like nothing was wrong. For a moment, I almost believed him. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it all. But when we got home, he stepped into the shower, humming our song, and then his phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit up, and the words stared back at me. See you tonight, can't wait. I stared at the screen, frozen. My mind spun, searching for any explanation that didn't lead to the obvious. Maybe it was work, maybe a surprise for me, maybe. No, the heart emoji told me everything I needed to know. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I set it back down like it burned me. My ears rang, the sound of the shower suddenly deafening. For a moment, I just sat there, whispering to myself, this can't be real, this can't be happening. But it was real. And in that moment, my anniversary night turned from celebration to betrayal. I thought back to all the little signs I had brushed off. The perfume, the balcony calls, the late nights. I remembered one particular evening, a month earlier. I had cooked his favorite dinner, roast chicken with garlic mashed potatoes. He walked in late, muttered, smells good, and barely touched his plate. Everything okay? I asked. Work stress, he mumbled, eyes glued to his phone. Want to talk about it? Not really. And that was it. No warmth, no laughter, just silence and the glow of his screen. I remembered lying awake that night, staring at the back of his head, thinking, where did my husband go? And now, with that message staring back at me, I had my answer. I wanted to storm into the bathroom, shove the phone in his face, demand answers. But another part of me was terrified, because once I asked, once I knew for sure, there would be no going back. So I sat there, paralyzed, my thoughts racing. Do I confront him now? Do I wait? Do I gather proof? My heart screamed, he's lying to you. But my brain whispered, if you're wrong, you'll destroy your marriage over nothing. I felt like I was drowning in quicksand, every second dragging me deeper. I thought back to dinner earlier that night. The restaurant was beautiful, candle lit, soft music playing. He had reached across the table, squeezed my hand and said, 7 years, May. Can you believe it? Here's to 70 more. He smiled like a man in love. He looked me in the eye and toasted to forever. And the entire time, he was planning to see someone else that same night. The memory made bile rise in my throat. Claire's words echoed in my mind. Don't ignore your gut. Get the proof. Well, the proof was glowing on the screen in front of me, and it was more painful than anything I'd ever imagined. I wanted to call her right then, pour out everything, but it was almost midnight, and besides, how do you even say those words out loud? My husband's cheating on me. Saying it would make it real. So I sat there, clutching the edge of the bed, listening to the shower run, waiting for him to come out, while my whole life unraveled silently in my hands. The shower turned off. My pulse skyrocketed. In seconds, he'd step out, towel around his waist, smiling like nothing was wrong. And I had a choice. Pretend I hadn't seen the message, or confront him and watch my marriage go up in flames. Tears stung my eyes, but I forced them back. If I was going to do this, I wasn't going to do it broken. I whispered to myself, May, this is your moment. No more excuses, no more lies. You need the truth. The bathroom door creaked open, and there he was, David, humming, water dripping down his hair, grinning at me like everything was fine. He had no idea that in the next minute, his entire mask was about to crumble. The bathroom door creaked open. Steam poured into the bedroom, curling in the air like smoke. David stepped out, towel slung low on his hips, humming like a man who had nothing to hide. His hair dripped water down his shoulders, and he smiled when he saw me sitting on the edge of the bed. You look so serious, he teased. What's on your mind, birthday girl? I didn't answer. My throat was dry, my chest heavy. I picked up his phone from the nightstand, the glowing message still on the screen. His smile faltered. David, my voice cracked. Who is she? He froze. For a moment, he looked like a deer caught in headlights. Then, almost too quickly, his face shifted into a mask of calm. May, what are you talking about? I held up the phone. My hand trembled. but my voice sharpened. This, see you tonight, can't wait. Who is she? The color drained from his face, then rushed back in a flush of red. He snatched the phone from my hand, locking the screen. You shouldn't be looking through my phone, he snapped. That's what you're worried about? My voice rose. Not the fact that you've been lying to me? Not the fact that some other woman thinks she's meeting you tonight, on our anniversary? David dragged a hand through his wet hair, pacing the room. May, you're blowing this out of proportion. It's not what you think. I laughed bitterly. Oh, really? Then what is it, David? Enlighten me. Who sends can't wait if it's not an affair? It's just a coworker. She's going through a rough time. I've been supportive. Supportive? My voice dripped with sarcasm. Do you always support your coworkers with heart emojis and late-night texts? His jaw clenched. You're twisting this. No, David, you twisted this. You twisted our marriage, our vows, everything we built. He sat heavily on the edge of the bed, burying his face in his hands. May, I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just, he cut himself off, shaking his head. I stared at him, my heart pounding. It was something then. You just admitted it. His silence was answer enough. Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. How long, David? How long have you been lying to me? He looked up, eyes bloodshot, voice low. A few months. A few months? My voice cracked like glass. While I was working double shifts to support you? While I was cooking your dinners and believing your late-night deadlines? A few months? He flinched at every word, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. Do you have any idea what that does to me? To us? To the life I sacrificed so you could have your career, your dreams? His voice broke. I didn't mean to hurt you, May. It just happened. I let out a bitter laugh. Accidents are tripping on the sidewalk, David. Affairs don't just happen. You chose this. You chose her. My body trembled as the weight of it sank in. The man I loved, the man I trusted with everything, wasn't mine anymore. I thought of our first date, the diner, the laughter. I thought of our wedding day, the way he had promised me forever. I thought of the nights I stayed up working extra hours so he wouldn't have to worry. All of it felt like a cruel joke now. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse. I wanted to turn back time and erase the last 7 years. But instead I stood tall, because if I fell apart now, he would win. I took a deep breath, steadying my voice. So tell me, David, who is she? And don't you dare lie to me again. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. His eyes darted to the floor, and then he whispered her name, a name I knew. My stomach lurched, the room spinning. Of all the people in the world, it had to be her. The name slipped from David's lips like poison. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't some distant coworker I'd never met. It was Rachel. Rachel, my friend, my neighbor. The woman who had sat at my kitchen table drinking coffee with me, laughing with me. The woman who had congratulated us on our anniversary with a smile so sweet I never thought to question it. For a moment I couldn't breathe. My hands went numb, my knees weak. Rachel? I whispered. Rachel? David winced, his face crumpling. May, please. How dare you? My voice was shaking, but it was sharp as glass. How dare you bring her into this house, into my life? She was lonely, he said desperately. Her husband's always away. Don't you dare justify this. I cut him off, my chest heaving. You betrayed me. You betrayed us. David stood, pacing like a caged animal. It wasn't serious. It was just a distraction. I swear, May, it didn't mean anything. I laughed bitterly, tears spilling despite my will. Didn't mean anything? You risked our marriage for nothing? You threw away 7 years for just a distraction? He reached for me, but I pulled back. I love you, he said, voice breaking. It was a mistake. I got caught up. I never stopped loving you. Love? I spat. You don't get to use that word anymore. Love doesn't sneak out onto balconies. Love doesn't hide phones under pillows. Love doesn't whisper lies while smiling across the dinner table. His shoulders slumped, his mouth opening and closing like he had no defense left. Inside, I was breaking apart. Every memory, the diner, the vows, the nights I thought he was working late, twisted like knives. I saw Rachel's face in my mind, her easy smile, the way she'd compliment David's cooking at barbecues. Had it started then? Were they laughing behind my back even as they laughed with me? The betrayal wasn't just from him, it was from her too. And that double wound cut deeper than I thought possible. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse on the floor. But instead, I forced myself to stand taller. Because if I crumbled now, David would see me broken, and I refused to give him that satisfaction. How long? I asked, my voice low and steady. He swallowed hard. 3 months. 3 months, I repeated, my voice rising, while I was killing myself with double shifts, saving for our future. You were sneaking around with her, my friend? May, I swear I didn't plan it. It just happened. Stop saying that, I exploded. Affairs don't just happen, David. They take lies. They take choices. Every late night, every text, every secret call. Those were choices. You chose her over me again and again. He flinched at my words, tears filling his eyes, but I didn't stop. Tell me the truth. Were you with her tonight? Is that why she texted? His silence told me everything. Something inside me snapped then, not from weakness, but from strength. I realized I didn't need his answers anymore. I already knew the truth. You know what, David? I said, my voice trembling but strong. I used to think losing you would destroy me, but tonight I see the truth. Losing you means losing a liar, a coward, a man who doesn't deserve the woman standing in front of him. His eyes widened. May, please. No, I held up my hand. Don't you dare beg. Don't you dare pretend to love me while your phone still smells like betrayal. David dropped to his knees, tears streaming, reaching for me like a drowning man. Don't leave me, May. I'll end it. I'll prove myself. Just don't give up on us. I stared down at him, my heart pounding, my soul torn in two. Part of me wanted to slam the door and never look back. Part of me wanted to scream, to make him feel every ounce of pain he had caused me. And a small, broken part of me wanted to believe him. But as I stood there, one thought burned brighter than the rest. This isn't the end. This is the beginning. The room was silent, except for David's ragged breathing. He was still on his knees, hands outstretched, eyes red. I stood frozen, my mind a hurricane. My chest ached like someone had reached inside and twisted my heart until it tore. Everything felt surreal. The man I once thought was my soulmate begging at my feet. The phone that had betrayed us both lying silent on the bed. The anniversary flowers wilting in their vase on the dresser. For 7 years I had given this man everything. My love, my trust, my sacrifices. And in return, he gave me lies. The silence screamed louder than any words could. Part of me wanted to believe him, to cling to the idea of us, to pretend this was just a nightmare and that tomorrow we'd wake up and laugh like old times. But another part, the stronger part, knew better. Trust, once shattered, can never be whole again. I thought about every late night, every whispered phone call, every fake smile at the dinner table, and then I thought of Rachel, sitting in her kitchen just a few doors down, smiling at me like she wasn't stealing my life. The rage bubbled up, hot and sharp. No, staying wasn't an option, not anymore. I looked down at David, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. You had choices, David. Every time you texted her, every time you lied to me, and every time you chose her. Not me. He shook his head frantically. No, May, I chose wrong, but I can fix this. I'll cut her off. I'll prove to you I can change. Prove? I laughed bitterly. You think flowers and promises will erase the fact that you betrayed me with her? That you spat on our vows? His eyes filled with tears again, but I didn't flinch. I may have lost my husband tonight, I whispered, but you lost your wife. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. While David tossed and turned beside me, my mind replayed every scene, every lie, every betrayal. By morning, my decision was clear. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw his clothes onto the lawn or key his car like some soap opera scene. No, my revenge would be quieter, sharper, the kind that cuts deeper than any scream. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It's living well without them. The next day, while David pretended to get ready for work like nothing was wrong, I slipped out early. I went straight to Claire's house. The moment she opened the door, she saw my face and pulled me into her arms. It's true, I choked out. It's Rachel. Her gasp echoed my heartbreak. May, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Tears streamed down my face as I told her everything. The text, the confrontation, the lies. Claire didn't try to sugarcoat it. She didn't say, maybe it was a mistake. She just held me and said, you don't deserve this. You deserve so much better. Gee. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't alone. That night, when I returned home, David was waiting at the table, dinner on the stove, flowers on the counter, his attempt at redemption. But when I looked into his eyes, I didn't see my husband anymore. I saw a stranger, and I realized this wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of his karma. David hovered around me for days, acting like a puppy desperate for forgiveness. Flowers, dinners, empty promises. But every time I looked at him, all I saw was Rachel's smirk, the heart emoji glowing on his screen.
The lies he fed me while I worked double shifts to support his dreams. No bouquet could erase that. No sorry could unring that bell. And so I made a choice. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't fight. I'd take control. Calmly. Quietly. That's how karma works best. One morning I sat him down at the kitchen table. "David, I've been thinking," I said evenly. "About us, about everything." His eyes lit up with hope. "May, I'll do anything. Therapy, cut her off, whatever it takes." I held up a hand. "It's too late. I can't trust you anymore. And without trust, there's nothing left." He paled. "May, please don't do this." But I was calm. For once I was in control, and he knew it. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to tell you, this marriage is over." I didn't just stop with David. I went to Rachel's house. When she opened the door, her smile faltered. She knew. "May," she started. "No," I cut her off. "You don't get to speak. You don't get to explain. You sat in my kitchen, drank my coffee, smiled in my face, and while you were sleeping with my husband." Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't flinch. "You can keep him," I said coldly, "because I don't want him anymore. And trust me, Rachel, if he betrayed me, he'll betray you too." The look on her face was all the closure I needed. I filed for divorce, quietly, efficiently. I took back my career, the one I'd put on hold for him. I leaned on Claire, on family, on the people who actually loved me. And slowly, piece by piece, I rebuilt myself. Meanwhile, David unraveled. Rachel didn't last. He lost her just as quickly as he had lost me. Word spread through the neighborhood, through his job, through our friends. His reputation shattered. His career stalled. Karma came, not with fire and fury, but with silence and loss. And I didn't lift a finger. One evening, months later, I walked past the diner where David had proposed. For a moment, the memories hit me, the laughter, the rain, the hope. But instead of pain, I felt something new. Peace. Because I finally understood. I hadn't lost anything. He had. I hadn't lost a husband. I had lost a liar. I hadn't lost love. I had lost betrayal dressed as affection. And in that realization, I found myself again. So here I am, telling you my story. The man who vowed forever broke it with a text message. The friend I trusted turned into a stranger overnight. But me? I survived. I rebuilt. I rose stronger than ever. Because sometimes losing someone isn't the end. It's the beginning of who you were meant to be all along. Now I want to ask you, if you were in my shoes, would you have stayed and tried to fix the marriage? Or would you have walked away like I did? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading every single one.